Hey there riders, MotoJourno Chris here today to talk about Kawasaki's latest announcement, the Z H2, which adds another supercharged model to Kawasaki's lineup. This time the Z model line, and of course a naked bike, or maybe more appropriately a hyper naked. Now the official video has just been released and we've been given a glimpse of the bike and how you look if you go wide open throttle without a helmet on. An apt warning for why all the gear all the time is important, especially on a supercharged bike. The 2020 Z H2, looking at the specs, also appears to have many of its specifications in common with the 2019 H2 SX, Kawasaki's sports touring fared version, with the notable change being peak torque brought down 1000 RPM, which isn't a massive difference. Both feature around 200 horsepower with 137 Newton meters of torque, or just over 100 foot-pounds. Points of note with the Kawasaki supercharged power plant is the lack of an intercooler, instead running off the bike's lubrication system. The supercharger impeller is also a 5-axis CNC machined item running from 6 blades at the tip to 12 at the base. Cast pistons are featured for strength and to handle the temperatures run, with Kawasaki claiming they weigh in the same as forged pistons. The cylinders are apparently top notch in their circularity and cylindricity. Yep, real words, I checked. Due to a special honing process, meaning low tension piston rings are able to be used. Exhaust valves are also an Inconel and heat resistant steel construction, so there's some pretty trick stuff going on here. To give you a quick rundown, the Z H2 features electronic valve control, which allows ride and power modes. Electronics also include Kawasaki traction control, Kawasaki launch control mode, Kawasaki's intelligent braking system or KIBS, KCMF, which is Kawasaki's cornering management function, a quick shifter both ways of course, and electronic cruise control, but more details on that later. You can tell what's going on with the bike via a full color TFT display, and there's plenty going on with the left switch block as well when it comes to all those settings. Lighting is all LED unless you're in the USA, and there is smartphone connectivity, which allows for even easier control of the electronic system if it's anything like the system found on the Versys 1000 SE. Kawasaki are boasting a new steel trellis frame, which in green adds an amazing highlight to the bike, well in tune with the Z personality, and it is quite significantly different to that found on the H2 SX, which is designed to carry 195 kilos, or the regular, more highly strung H2. The Z H2 is no touring bike though, and there's plenty of differences to note. We'll talk styling last, but looking across the dimensions and geometry, there's a 1455mm wheelbase, which is longer than the H2 and shorter than the H2 SX. Trail is 104mm and rake 24.9 degrees, which will make for less steering input required compared to the SX. But then the Z H2 is definitely more Hoon than Tourer, and there's 29 degrees of steering angle on each side. Suspension is more traditional and provided by Showa, with separate function big piston forks that offer preload and damping adjustability, while Kawasaki boast a new Unitrack rear suspension setup with a Showa shock. I can't see any mention of adjustability here, but preload seems likely as a minimum. Also worthy of note is the swing arm mounting plate being mounted to the engine, and the swing arm pivot shaft run through the plate, with the plate then working as a cross member on the frame for rigidity, while helping reduce weight. The swing arm is also a double-sided affair, and there's no blingy wheels like you'll find on the up-spec H2 SX SE. Kawasaki are promising here that a big focus was light, low to medium speed handling, a well-optimized center of gravity, and a nimble overall character, plus high-speed stability of course. You're running a supercharger after all, and that really does cover most of the bases. Brakes are Brembo M432 monoblock calipers on the front with 290mm rotors, while the rear is a 226mm item with what looks like a single piston caliper. Naturally there's ABS or KIBS as Kawasaki call it, with the Kawasaki cornering management function also taking a hand in providing cornering ABS along with the Bosch IMU, while there's also rear lift suppression to keep those stoppies under control. Ride modes include Sport, Road and Rain for presets, with a rider mode that is fully customizable, and they are switchable while riding. There's 3 power modes, full, middle and low, with 3 levels of traction control. The Kawasaki quick shifter, as mentioned, is both up and down and operates from 2500 RPM upwards, while cruise control is set from the switch block. There's the extensive electronics package that I mentioned, with one of the big questions for the Z H2 being what price it will come in at. The specs suggest that this will be a competitively priced offering when you consider the traditional suspension and the Brembo M4 calipers instead of the Stylema items found on the SX. How competitively priced Kawasaki can manage will be the big question. Competition is realistically the likes of Yamaha's MT10 or MT10 SP and BMW's S1000R or similar, with the Supercharger being an obvious factor for giving the Z H2 a real X factor, with Kawasaki's Sugomi design carrying the obvious DNA of the Z800 and Z1000 models. There's more upright fat bars too, as you'd expect on a naked bike, but the bike is seriously beefy looking in the pictures. Kawasaki also say they've optimized the seat for comfort, so hopefully they didn't take any pointers from the item on the Ninja 400. The Z H2 is relatively hefty at 239 kilograms on the road, but that supercharger and extra torque will no doubt offset that, while the unique ride that the Supercharge offers is hard to quantify. Unless you delve into expensive custom works, it's not something you can really experience anywhere else. While it's big money if you want something that looks like it rolled off a showroom floor, offers everyday rideability and a turbo or supercharger, something that Kawasaki's H2 models are very unique in offering. I've always been a fan of the Z family and the Z800 and Z1000 in particular, so it ticks the boxes there for me, as that's a unique look to start with, and the Z is the perfect addition to that lineup, particularly as the crowning jewel. There's also a hint of the original H2 in that metallic spark black, metallic graphite grey and mirror coated spark black colour scheme. That's a mouthful, lucky there's only one colour option. Other notable features? Well, Kawasaki have a very nice set of headers and collectors on display, but we're still stuck with the massive muffler. The bike's Euro 5 compliant though, or at least gets a nod in that direction in the official press release. Overall, the Z H2 is another interesting release from Kawasaki, who are making the most of their supercharger development and helping add a bit of variety to the market. Pretty cool if you ask me. If you've got any thoughts or questions, leave them below in the comments, and if you've enjoyed the video, hit subscribe and the notification bell. As always, stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.